recording is started. So on that topic that we were just talking about, hero pools. So it seems, I think you do it like back at the start, from my recollection, we went over tanks to begin with. We went over Winston the first couple of times. And then you've started to spread out a little bit more, like playing DPS, and this time you just mentioned playing support. So what this topic really is up to you and what your goals and priorities are when playing. It's really not a hard and fast rule. It's more like recommendations for improvement. So if your objective, if you're playing to have fun, or at least that's a major priority, then I would say just like pretty much ignore everything I'm saying because it doesn't really apply to you. But if you're trying to win games, to climb an SR, to improve at the game, then that means I would probably recommend lowering your hero pool, or making it so that you're not spreading yourself too thin, essentially, as that can lead to slower improvement. Not impossible improvement, just much slower and handicapped improvement. So let me break that down a little bit. This is apparent not just between characters, but also especially between roles, because within roles you have characters that are more easily translatable into each other. Right? It's easier to swap from Soldier to McCree than it is to swap from Soldier to Lucio. But it also means that even within a specific role, every single character is different. You have different play styles, different abilities, different ultimates, different mechanics because you have different types of guns and different things to pay attention to and different types of positioning. Every character plays differently. And if you spread yourself between too many, then that can mean that you're not going to be learning as fast. So therefore, I would probably recommend don't try to learn as many. Limit yourself. It's going to depend on how often you play the game is a factor here, but typically my recommendation is approximately 2 to 3 characters within one role. And then if you only play like equal to or less than 1 hour a week, you probably only really want to play one character. If you play kind of around 2-3 hours a day, sorry, then it's going to be more like 2 to 3 characters, and then you can kind of scale upwards, right? Let's say you play 4 or 5, now you can maybe play 4 characters or so, um, and then you get up to like 6, 7, 8 or more. Then you can start expanding even more. Go up to 5, 6, 7 characters. Now, another thing to note within this is that it is priority. It doesn't mean that you can never, ever, ever swap to another character just to have fun, because it would be better for the situation, right? That sort of, you're being hard countered, that sort of thing. It's not to say you can never swap. It's just to say that you put a priority on learning in the individual characters. So does that whole concept make sense?
Yeah. By the way, we are in a game right now.
Mm-hmm.
Really only I haven't played like much like comp with other roles. I haven't really
Mm.
just been playing tank. Like I've been on like a really big downward spiral with
Oh.
yes, like huge. I'm not too worried about that because I've already kind of like made the plan to like focus on from one role to another,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm playing junk on this map because junk is like godly.
Together we are strong.
All right.
And I can get 50 ult charge from in the beginning like super easily. So,
Yep.
but let me be for real, man. I hate assault so much. I'm
No.
Overwatch 2 because they're removing it.
Hmm. I honestly don't even mind it too much.
I hate this
But
choke. I hate this choke so much.
This bomb's for you.
Like with assault, I feel like it's like you either roll or get rolled.
hmm.
Here we go. 5, 4.
I might recommend crouching and being less jumpity, because otherwise that'll get you spotted faster when you're going in there.
Defend objective A.
Uh-oh. Make sure we're looking to back up sooner, and then also make sure that you're using that mine as a movement ability, not for damage.
Yes, sir.
Takes a licking. Keeps on ticking.
So really just overstayed her welcome a little bit there.
Yeah, there's no shot.
Nah, you can do it. I believe in you. 1v6.
No, absolutely not. You're trying to get me killed over here. You're supposed to be helping me, not getting me killed.
Well, after you die, then I can talk about how you're not supposed to listen to bad advice. Rather than having to peek all down there, you can probably just spam through the window up top here.
This bomb's for you. Now we're cooking with gas.
Where are you, Hanzo? You got away.
Oh. Do you know that you're spam jumping a decent bit? And that's actually what sent you off the high ground there.
Here we go. Never lied, kind of a nuts. You'll like it.
Oh no. Yep, nope.
Kill the Mahal. Fire in the hole. Defeat.
Well, that didn't work out too well now, did it?
Yep, did not. Yep, I would agree.
The game.
On Junkrats. Let's see. I would probably say that mine usage was a little bit of something that I saw, but honestly, that game only lasted like 2 minutes. So really, just go ahead and hop straight back into another queue, and then give me a replay while we go over this real quick. But yeah, oh. Whoopsie, accidentally muted myself trying to stream here. So I am streaming really quick, just Junkrat here. When you're using mine, you have two main usages of it, right? You have using it to secure a kill and using it as mobility, and those are the two primary purposes that you use it. In securing a kill, very often you're going to use just your mine standard mine combo as a very easy way to finish off a kill, because you can get a kill in basically half a second by doing this, right? Just by
I'm already in a game, by the way. I
Oh,
had to flex for this one.
sounds good. Did you see the combo that I was showing you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just making sure that you're looking to go for this combo, because it's a really effective combo to just get kills. So it's just shoot mine immediately. We ran into a couple situations where we weren't pulling that off super effectively. Okay, I am spectating.
You know, I like having a Reinhardt with my Sigma, so I can play a little more creatively with my Sigma. Like, example, playing high ground a little bit. Protect anyone, like, let's say a soldier that's in position.
Yeah,
That-
Orisa's an even better combo because it just works better with his character anyways.
Oh, yeah, sure. But I'd say Sigma's my second best tank, considering how, like, pretty easy he is.
Mm-hmm.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
You can probably recommend dropping your shield while you're eating, and you can even drop your shield while you're eating as well.
Matrix activated. This is gonna make you feel better.
Probably don't need to be dropping from high ground in this situation. Additionally, I know we've gone over a lot of monkey when it comes to tank. Have we ever gone over no man's land usage?
No.
Chokepoint usage? Oh, okay, so we will go over that after this game is over.
Alright, perfect. Alright, Sombra up top.
I will keep you here.
mysteries of the universe.
Yep, remember she can hack you.
Yeah, I know.
Nice flux.
Not to be academic, but I believe that one would call this being on fire.
Okay, note with your Sigma Flux, you do not have enough time for 2 mid-air volleys. You have 1 volley in air, and then 1 volley when they slam to the ground and they're stunned. So just think of it like that when you're shooting into a Sigma Flux. 1 in the air, 1 on the ground.
Help me.
Elementary application.
Okay. You could probably have turned around to help with Lucio in that situation. Alright.
I thought I got that more. Oh, damn.
Yeah, so we will discuss some positioning after this is over. Additionally, Lucio kind of was skating around behind us for like a good 10-15 seconds, and even booped us, and we didn't really turn to look at him at all, when he probably would have been an easier target to shoot at, being, you know, him being right next to us, you know.
Here it comes. I'm out of here.
Very nice. Make sure you're dropping your shield when you're not using it. That way it's just recharging.
Alright, time for high ground.
Okay. Probably would recommend against taking high ground, as it's not anywhere close to cart here, right? Your cart is way over there, and high ground that's like very far away from it. This means that you're not gonna be able to contest cart very easily. They could, you know, go and try to backcap you. And then additionally, at this point, that high ground just be a little bit outside where the fight is. They could kind of run beneath you and just kind of ignore you essentially, and then you're out of position.
Alright. I'll probably take that high ground when, like, I use my flux or something to finish off kills.
That would not be a bad idea, because in the middle of the fight that can add more of a kind of off-angle effect.
60 seconds remaining.
Press to your advantage when you're winning, right? Make sure we're not just kind of sitting there and cart, but when we're kind of winning that fight, we want to go and press the advantage so we can get stagger kills and make sure we're getting more ult charge for our team and whatnot. Oh, something happening at the top of our screen. So we're just paying attention to some awareness there. We even saw a cart moving when we looked over in that direction.
Well, might have been an accident. I'm not gonna tell you that it was or wasn't.
Taking damage. 10 seconds remaining.
Activating the barrier. Barrier won't hold together. Barrier.
Alright. We stayed very, very aggressive rather than backing off when we were at a disadvantage. In that situation, it probably would have been better if you had backed off, since you don't need to be directly on cart, since you have another like 7 seconds before they actually cap, right? And then that way you can wait, you can let your team regroup, come in as a whole team, and then not die. We very much overstayed our welcome in that situation. In fact, they probably would have killed us sooner if the Reinhardt actually turned and like swung at us. Very nice. Alrighty. So, pretty on point ability usage. Not without mistakes, but pretty good on that end. We will have one major position, I think, to go over here. But are you queuing up for DPS or tank? Because if you're queuing up for DPS, you can go right now. Tank, probably wait a minute.
All right, I got 6 priority passes. I'm probably gonna do one more for tank and then go one more for DPS. So,
All right. Then give it a second before you go and do that.
all right, cool.
So we were just on the map. Give me the map because I forgot immediately. It was Rialto. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we are going to review No Man's Land and Chokepoint positioning. So this is a little bit different because over on Monkey, you kind of hold and advance a little bit differently than some other slower characters who can't leap across this area very easily. So Sigma and a lot of other characters, right, have to kind of respect some of these rules, and that can even be handy even on a character like Monkey. So let's make some definitions. You've probably heard of choke points before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, though I would imagine the other term, no man's land, is less familiar.
Yeah, less familiar.
Yeah. So when it comes to a choke point, right, this right here would act as a choke point, right? A choke point is essentially a tiny little funnel that means that you're squished, your whole team, right, is squished into this tiny little space that you have to run through, and then that means that you can shoot them very easily. It's a very bad place to be standing usually because you take a lot of extra damage unnecessarily, or sometimes necessarily. No Man's Land is any long stretch of space with no real cover. So, for example, on a payload map, usually the entire pathway is going to act as a no man's land. So this right here, for example, this long stretch, very little cover the entire way across if you're standing near the middle of it, right? So therefore this right here would act as a no man's land. This would kind of be a choke no man's-esque, right? It kind of be a mixture of the two, right? And then you can pretty much follow this trail, and most of it's either going to be a choke or a no man's land. So let's discuss how do you hold an attack on no man's lands. So the basic premise is being in them is bad. So when we are holding them, if we hold at the front, so let's just say, for example, here, we hold right up here, right? Which is kind of where we were holding a little bit, right? That means that they don't actually have to walk through the choke point, right? So they do have to walk through the no man's land, but they don't have to walk through this choke point right here, right? Because we are standing here, and why would they need to walk through it if it's behind us? Then, if they put a lot of pressure on us and make us back up, which is probably likely to happen, we're probably going to back up and give them space, then we, as a team, end up being the ones who are forced to go into the no man's land to back up through the choke point and back up through this choke point. So essentially, by holding up here, we put our entire team in said choke point / no man's land, and that is not good. Very good positioning. So when you want to hold no man's land and chokes, you do not want to hold at the front or the middle of them. You want to hold at the end of them. So better positioning would be back here, right, holding at this corner, because then they have to go through that no man's land and this choke, and we can hold on the opposite side of the choke, make them have to come through to get to you, and then meanwhile you just have a lot of cover to play off of a corner. They have to walk through this the open, and then you can just kind of stalk cart from here, right? Now, does that mean that you cannot that you cannot start off up here? That typically is a good idea to start here, because then you can get a lot of damage in when they're crossing this no man's land. But once they reach around like the middle or so of the bridge, right, that's where your whole team probably wants to be backing up and repositioning here, and then you can continue to spam them the whole way that they're approaching, right? So that way you are getting advantage of the no man's land and then the choke in no man's land, rather than getting advantage of this and then being at a disadvantage here. So does that whole concept make sense? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, that makes sense. No questions.
Yep. So then the whole same process would happen. Being up here, right, would be an issue, because then we kind of like we have to think, okay, well, where are we? If the cart's all the way back here, and they push us off, or they go underneath us. Then we have to think, okay, well, where are we retreating to? How are we backing up? We have to back up through this wide open no man's land. When if we are holding over here, carts right here, all we have to do is just hold here,
Activating
and
the
then
barrier.
now they have to push through this wide open space to get to us, and we can shoot them with a lot of damage,
Back to
have
me.
really good cover usage over here on the corner, and then also have just be able to stall cart very easily. Another positional thing to note as like a shield tank, right, is that you want to be playing off of corners very heavily. Firstly, personal usage of cover. Secondly, when we're kind of position like this out in the open, that's going to encourage our team to follow us and have bad cover usage, right? So we've already talked about in the past good positioning, usage of cover, bad positioning, absence of cover. As the main tank, you have a lot of power over where your team's positioned, and then they'll follow us into bad positioning versus following us into good positioning.
Observe the barrier.
Additionally, if you put your shield on the corner, it can make it so that the shield is harder to break. They can't see as much of it, therefore it'll take a lot less spam damage and stay alive longer. And then, like I said before, it's covered for yourself as well, and you can hold very easily on it. So, hopefully that all makes sense. You can queue up.
All right, let's go.
All right. And
Alright.
then you heard my just to make sure, because I know you were in the middle of a game. You heard my comment on Sigma Flux usage.
There is no
Yeah.
obligation
Yeah, so
to the
just
universe to make sense
one
to
shot in there,
you.
one shot on the ground. Is essentially how that works out.
Double kill.
Alright, and then yeah,
That's it.
then it should just be a very fast queue. Then let me know when you get it.
Yeah, I queued up for a game, but it was at the very end, and I was very glad it was Hanamura that I was almost about to be queued in, and ended up ending.
Impact.
Let's. I feel like Sigma's my second best tank. Like, I realistically only play 2 tanks and 1 tank very rarely, and that's Rein. And I'm in a game right now, Route 66.
Traveling to Route 66.
I think I'll Roadhog. I'll go Monkey for this.
Alright.
Actually, no. I lied.
Aw, isn't that sweet?
Attack
I actually know
missiles
Monkey pretty well on this map.
activated.
This is my favorite Monkey map. It's extremely easy to take high ground as this map, take advantage of it as Monkey. It's so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is a pretty good face.
Beacon in
5, 4,
Okay, Sombra.
3, 2, 1. Attack commencing. Escort the payload.
Enemigo detectado.
I have to setting up that choke.
Join me.
It's funny how the cart tracked you forwards.
Yeah.
I'm escorting the payload. Let's keep it moving.
Alright. I think we will probably talk about shield usage. Additionally, on Monkey, or just in general, have we talked about aggression scaling?
Yeah, we have talked about aggression scaling on
Alright.
Monkey.
Yeah, so just make sure you're looking to apply that to Reinhardt as well. Thinking about, like, okay, shield and health and abilities are your resources, right? So you have to watch out for that, right? And those drag us downwards, right? So in that last fight, we got maybe a little bit of aggro when we probably should have been playing passive because we didn't have abilities. Or sorry, resources.
Move it. I can't hold forever. I need healing.
we will 100% talk about shield management, but one part I'll mention is just make sure you're letting your shield drop to recharge. If you constantly just flash it up, it's never going to recharge and it's going to constantly stay low, right? So when it's low, drop it, keep it down. That way you actually let it come back up versus always keeping it low. And then we'll talk about how you can actually manage it better after the game is over.
Yeah, I think that's my weak point as Ryan.
No one can hide from my sight.
You're not getting away.
Barrier is failing. Barrier destroyed.
But damn it. Deactivated.
Okay.
I'll feel that in the morning.
This is going to hurt.
Oh my god.
Alright, when you're charging, make sure you're thinking about the end destination of your charge, right? Where is your charge going to end you up with? Because if you don't think about that, then that could end up being a really bad charge. So think, okay, is the end destination right next to me? What wall am I pinning into? And then intentionally go for that, whereas there we just kind of went straight into the back line.
I've got you in my sights.
Okay. Look to fire strike that. When you fire strike a tire, that it one-shots it because it's 100 health and your fire strike does 100 damage.
This is such a hard comp to play with Ryan with.
Yeah.
You have a Sombra and a Tracer.
Yes.
Both flankers.
And then I would say even beyond that, your support lineup is probably even more difficult to play with.
Oh yeah.
So if you do notice that a character is really bad for the situation, when you die, it'd probably be a better idea to swap off the character than to continue trying to play them. You know,
Yeah, I would probably switch off by now, but you know, I'm trying to get better at the character.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving.
Alright, switching.
Alright, make sure you're watching for the traps, be aware of them and watch for them, right? Team comp dictates playstyle. Junkrat's the only character you ever need to look at the floor for, right? So we'll make sure you're watching for those.
We still need you.
Alright.
We can't let the payload just sit there.
It's time for me to do work.
30 seconds remaining.
Very rocks. Escorting the payload.
Later. My ultimate is ready.
There we go, we got the space.
Ten seconds remaining.
Deactivated.
I need healing. Payload.
No shot.
What you get?
Okay, then maybe there's a shot.
I'm back.
You can do it. Alright. So let's discuss some stuff
Translocating.
after your summer dice.
I've got you in my sights.
Is she gonna... Are we gonna hold? No. No.
Alright.
Defeat.
So let me stream. Probably even if you're doing DPS, you said you had priority passes, right? Probably just
Yeah.
hold off on it. Alright, so let's go down a rabbit hole really quickly just to discuss why shielding is so important. Alright, creating space, right? Creating space is half of the battle on a tank, right? You want to get kills, you want to do damage, but you also want to create space because that's how you get a lot of value as tank, right? As Reinhardt, what is the primary means of space creation? And I can give you a couple options if you don't get it.
Nah, it's I think I know this. It's hammer, it's shield, fire strike. You can get spaces a bunch of ways as Ryan.
Yeah. primarily it is going in and swinging on them, right? Because if
Yeah.
it's pushing forwards, being aggressive and swinging, right? That is the primary means. Because if I push, or if I just sit here and shield, then nothing happens. If I push forwards and shield, nothing happens. That's not create space created, because then they break your shield and then you're just sitting here and then they shoot you and you die, right? It's not really accomplishing very much. So your primary method of creating space is going in, getting aggressive, and swinging, right? That creates space for your team to actually do things and accomplishing things. And it's also how you actually do damage, right? Because during that last game, we didn't actually secure a lot of kills. We weren't able to do a ton, and the primary reason is because we weren't effectively able to get in on top of them, right? So, to get in and get on top of them, right, we need to have resources. Because if you recall back to our going over the aggression scaling, right? You cannot be aggressive if you do not have resources, right? You can't do squat if you do not have shield. If your shield's at 0, then how are you going to run in and swing? Because then you just get melted, you get shredded, you're gone instantly, right? It's not going to work out too well for you. So shield management is incredibly important to make sure that you're able to actually get in effectively to do things. And when it comes to aggression, I'm not sure if we discussed this at all in the past, but when it comes to aggression versus passiveness, aggression is like you never want to play passive. Passiveness is a necessity when you are unable to play aggressive, but being aggressive is how you actually do things. So whenever possible, aggressiveness is the desire, it's what you want to be. It's just not always going to be possible, right? That's when you need to play passive, right? So if you we named all the times you need to play passive, it's always because you are incapable of playing aggressive, right? You don't have health. You're 1 HP, right? That's not because you want to play passive. That's because you are incapable of playing aggressive, right? That's the difference in mindsets. So, all of that to say, you need to go in, you need to swing on stuff, and to do that, shield management is very important, right? So, firstly, let's just talk about, now that we've gotten all that out of the way, right? Shield management, how does it work, right? When you shield, there are so many different things that you can shield for, but there's also a lot of things that you do not shield for, right? You shield when your team is in danger, right? Have you ever specified danger versus being low health, right? The kind of the difference and what danger is?
We might have, but
Might have. All right.
advice?
Refresher, right? I can be 1 HP and around the corner and be completely fine, right? Nobody's going to damage me. I'm all good. I'm not in danger. And I can be full HP and standing right next to a Diva Bomb with no shield, right? And that is very much in danger. As a Rein, and don't get me wrong, health usually does have a effect on danger level. It's just not always indicative of danger level, right? Um, but as Reinhardt, you want to shield when your team is in danger. That's a very much a primary. Like if you could just say one word for what is shield used for, shield is used for danger, right? And then beyond, we can break down danger to go in a couple more steps, right? You can block abilities and ultimates because those are very high-powered, dangerous abilities, right? Or like things that can do damage to our team and whatnot, right? So abilities and ultimates are really important to block. You can also block when it's an immense amount of spam damage, when your teammates are like 1 HP and about to die, right? Those sorts of scenarios. And you can also push when you're trying to push aggressively and take space, right? Because like that we just discussed, that's how you go in and do things. And we can also shield as we're backing up, because usually you're backing up because you're in danger, right? And when you're pushing into danger. That's why you shield, right? So danger, danger, danger. That's why you shield. Now, when you do not need to be shielding is against spam damage. Spam damage is just any old random shots. So for example, last round, right? Junkrat's just going pew, 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 and we're just sitting there going shield, 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 right? Junkrat's shots going pew, 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 pew is not a very high level of danger. Yes, it has the potential to maybe kill a teammate, but if a shot, let's say a Junkrat pellet hits a teammate, well then they become even more in danger, and then we can shield because they're low HP. right? But we don't want to just sit there absorbing every single Junkrat pellet along with every single other shot that every member of their team puts in at us, because then our shield just melts instantaneously and we never have a shield available. And that's a lot of what we did in that last game. Was we had come into a fight, right? This is what the fight looked like. Was we'd come into the fight, we would walk in, we'd sit there for a good 5 seconds, our shield would be gone, and then we'd be like, all right, what now, right? And then we would kind of like wander around for a little bit, either get aggressive or play passive, but we just didn't have shield active because we wasted it all at the very beginning of the fight, right? So that's a big no-no, right? Make sure you're not shielding for random spam. And that's the big main concept behind shield usage, and then we'll talk about one more thing with it in a second. Does that all make sense? Any questions?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, Rein is so like I honestly feel like Wrecking Ball is easier than Reinhardt. And that's my opinion. I feel like Rein is like the hardest tank for me to learn.
Yeah, it's very, very much a game sense based character. There's just a lot that goes into playing him. I'd say he's very similar, not in style, but it's very similar to Monkey in just how it's a lot of know-how. It's not necessarily just mechanics. It's not anything of that sort. It's just you have to know how to play him and kind of always have it at your fingertips, right? And I would agree with you. Even though I have a lot of time and experience with Reinhardt, he's one of the characters that I probably go wrong with the most when I play, just because I don't think through all the steps. So yeah, so just to confirm, you're saying you're struggling with him, but you're tracking for the moment.
Like I'm struggling with like I play comp. I do decent in comp. Like I never have the intention to go into a match and play Rein. My intention is usually to either play Winston or Sigma. And I usually try to match with Zarya main so we can do double bubble. But
Yep.
like I only go Rein unless absolutely necessary. I
Yep.
kind of use it like as an emergency pick. You know what? I have it in my pocket if I need to.
Yeah, do note that Sigma's shield acts in the exact same fashion as Reinhardt's, right? Those exact same principles that you just put in the play, and then Monkey Bubble is very, very similar, though maybe it's slightly different in usage and how you can use it to isolate people and whatnot, and you 100% do not want to just plop it down for spam. So all the different bubble usages are act in this fashion. Sorry, all
Yeah.
the different shield usages. Additionally, I saw you using it a little bit, but you're familiar with how to shield hop, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that you might benefit from knowing when and why to shield hop, because I was seeing you shield hopping, but not necessarily always in the not always when it was needed. So I saw that you knew the tech, but weren't actually applying it in a lot of situations where it would have been beneficial. So you shield hop to the reason why you shield hop is because when you just shield normally and try to walk in, you're taking so much damage that your shield melts instantly. And that's what we did a decent amount of time that we walked in. If you just are sitting here walking in, you're going in so slowly and your shield just gets melted by the time you actually reach them, and then now you don't have a shield when you get to them. If you walk in without a shield, then you just die flat up, right? You're just gonna get shredded. So what shield hopping does is it means that you're moving in faster, which means less damage overall. They have less time to shoot at you. And it also means that you're preserving your shield health, because now your shield is only visible for half of that time, right? Which means that now your shield just took half the damage. And then additionally, that's not enough damage to actually kill anybody, right? It's not a very high risk, high danger damage. It's just kind of spam damage, right? So that half damage that's getting to you and your team is probably going to be able to get healed up very easily, right? So shield hopping gets you in faster, gets you in with more shield left over, and it preserves the shield health. So you primarily use it when you are taking space and trying to get anywhere fast, and when you're exiting space fast. So you can also do shield hopping backwards. Now, if you or your teammates are like very low, or you need to block an ability or ultimate or something, then feel free to hard shield. But you don't. But when you're approaching, for the most part, you're going to be shield hopping. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead and queue up. Any other just like questions with like how the operations of Reinhardt works? Just because it, you know, like you said, it seems to be a little bit more of a tricky character for you.
Double
Yeah, like, is the aggressive scaling like different from monkeys, or is it like the exact same thing?
Pretty much the exact same thing. It's just you have slightly different things to pay attention to, I guess. Like it's the resources, same thing, right? Health, shield, abilities, right? You adjust down with those if you do not have them. I'm not. I don't know if like back when we talked about it, I added in danger level or not. But danger level also detracts. It makes you play passive. If you are in
Mhm.
danger, then you have to play more passive, right? And then also, you know, just your whole team and enemy team, right? Having disadvantages, right? More passive, and you play aggressive with advantages, and you play aggressive with opportunities, right? And then opportunities might also look a little bit different because an opportunity for Monkey is not the same thing as an opportunity for Reinhardt, right? That person might be 1 HP, but as Reinhardt, I can't immediately be on top of 1 HP person, right?
Yeah, it was just so painful, like just to see the soldier on top of like bridge, like untouched and unscathed.
Yeah, and then that's a situation as well where you might be better off going and coming out of spawn and taking the high ground to push soldier off. Even though Reinhardt can't do anything from high ground necessarily, this does not mean that he does not like high ground. High ground's still fantastic because you have to think of it like this: high ground's not just good for you, but also for your team and for the enemy team, right? And it's fantastic for them. So if the enemy team's up on the high ground, you can go and push them off of the high ground and take that advantage away from them, and then rip it away and hand it over to your team, and then now your team has that advantage, right? It also, from high ground, you can also negate damage. So, for example, in that last game that we were in, rather than when you're walking down a no man's land, so we were approaching through a no man's land, right? That first initial stretch is a no man's land. Instead of walking down the no man's land, you want to look to, you could take cover. So for example, this right here, no man's land. Rather than doing that, we can just come up to high ground and just use cover the whole way and drop on top of them, and that's the exact same thing you can do there on route, right? We can just drop on top of them and never have to walk through the no man's land. And another thing of note is that if you do walk through the no man's land, to go from cover to cover, right? Give yourself some recharge periods. So cover, okay, we're coming over here. We're going to cover. Maybe we recharge health, recharge shields. Okay, and then we're going over to cover. Maybe same thing, and then we can engage.
All right, that actually puts things more into light. Yeah, it's Ryan's so freaking hard. I, I hate I hate Ryan's probably my least favorite hero to play, in
Mm,
my opinion.
hmm
But I know it's one of the necessary heroes that you should learn to climb because it's so helpful for a team. And like being flexible on tank is really helpful. Because you may need like let's say you might need a monkey on this map, or maybe a Sig would be a lot more helpful than a monkey because they have the Bastion and a Junkrat, and you could just soak up that damage and play more aggressively. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Reinhardt.
If you do not like playing him, I would say that he's not necessarily a necessity unless your entire team is trying to play around a Reinhardt figure. Like if your whole team is on a brawl, for example, that can be an instance where it's like, all right, well, I guess I can play Reinhardt, right? But um, in a lot of cases, it's yeah. So it's not the only time that ever be really necessary is if your whole team's trying to run brawl and you're off. You already have someone locking off tank.
Yeah, pretty much. I just like I've played Ryan in a few comp games and I've done pretty well. Like I feel like my whole team's behind me, but like let's say like in that quick play for instance, no one was behind me. Like you
That
have a Sombra and a
yes.
Widowmaker.
There also was a very bad composition for Reinhardt. Um, I don't think have we ever talked about team compositions before?
Uh
Traveling to Nepal.
no, I don't think
No.
so.
Okay. Hmm. Well, it's
I
up to you. We could either go over team compositions and how they function and work, or we could just go through this game.
Let's go through this game.
Mhm.
I'm playing Farah.
Oh, okay.
If I know Farah, I can climb. Unless unless level 25 bronze is apparently very good at aiming and like just shoots me down. Let's do this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round 1. Capture the objective.
I'm with you. Damage was engaged.
I will not waste this opportunity. Get back!
Alright, we will talk about fuel usage after we're done here.
The objective is now active.
Okay, playing very far away at the moment, kind of sniping when maybe not fully necessary. They don't have a lot that can contest you, so keep that in mind.
Move back!
Alright, being as high as possible is definitely going to be a very high priority for you. Now, your fuel management we'll need to discuss because it's not very fantastic, but definitely being as high in there as possible is going to be a benefit for you, whereas we're lagging very low to the ground in a lot of cases here.
Clearing the area.
Okay.
I don't get these mechanics.
Make sure when you're using your concussion, it's actually, you know, accomplishing something, booping someone off of the map, making, you know, using it for mobility. Don't just randomly toss it in there just to disrupt people, right? Because that's not really going to be a very effective way to use it.
Fire at will.
Holy crap, this is awful. Alright,
Alright.
time to switch.
Make sure you're predicting where people are moving and aiming ahead of them.
Yeah.
Would you like to go over fuel usage or go with like 2 more minutes here? Because you're probably gonna have to exit the game either way.
Let's exit game 2.
From light into
Alright.
being. Teleportation protocol. You lack imagination. Lights out.
Okay. Got a little bit aggressive, right? Leaving cover, leaving our team. So we're kind of just running into 4 people, with, you know, not using corners and whatnot, and then that leads to slept and dead, right?
My work is not complete.
Overtime. Fire at will.
Casting a sentry wall.
Focus our attack on objective.
All right. Why don't you leave the game and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, that game was miserable. Let's not
Alright.
talk about that.
So same as per usual, wrap up, review, and whatnot. Really quickly though, Farah, flight
I will
usage.
protect the innocent.
Rather than holding down, because when you hold it down, this ends up happening where you just slowly descend and you waste all your fuel. What you want to do is you want to tap it. So you're going to fly and then go tap, 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 and then notice how I'm staying in the air much longer, and you can actually pretty much fly almost indefinitely, because by the time my fuel is about to run out, I get my shift back, and then I can tap, 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 tap. I run out of fuel again, shift back, right, and then you can pretty much go indefinitely. It used to be a little bit better. Now I think you slowly lose height over time, or at least it's like very neutral. So that's how you look to do that. So moving on, we went over Sigma, we went over, who else did we go? Reinhardt, and then besides that, do we do DPS? Kind of like a couple
Kind
very
of junk
briefly.
that. Not really.
Yeah, kind of very briefly though. All right, so we'll do Sigma Reinhardt. All right, Sigma, grass,
There
very
is
good.
no
You know,
obligation
things to
for
work
the
on, but nothing that I
universe
mentioned.
extends to you.
Rock, good. Shield usage, same things that we
Enjoy
talked about with
eternity.
Reinhardt's shield usage, right? Um, Overall ability usage on Sigma, probably like a low to medium for the moment. Then your let's see, your ultimate usage, one shot in the air, one shot on the ground. Besides that, very good as well. Probably, you know, even I would say a low priority on Sigma. Moving on, I guess yes. Back over to Reinhardt. I only saw like one shatter. Don't jump when you shatter. That extends the duration while you're in the air, and you can get stunned or dodged or etc. Besides that, I only really saw one, so I can't really place it super well. And you know, it looked fine. So I just for the moment low, I guess. Um, your ability usage. Fire Strike, fine. Charge, make sure you're thinking about the end destination in mind. Shield usage, right? A bunch of different things, right? Shield hopping when you're pushing into and backing off space very, very fast. Think of shield as it's just you use it as a tool to get aggressive, to go in. When it is low, drop it and let it recharge. Don't keep spamming it up there because then it resets it and never recharges. And then make sure you're not randomly shielding for spam, but you're shielding for danger when it actually matters. Overall, that was like a medium high on Reinhardt. It was a very, very big thing for you to work on. Then comes kind of not really mechanics. Mechanics. I don't think is even a category. We didn't talk about it too much. Moving on, positioning. Make sure that we're respecting no man's land and choke points and holding at the back end of them, not in the front or the middle of them. Make sure you're using cover. Make sure you're holding on corners. Take high grounds because high grounds are great for you. Overall, a lot of different things, right? Various different things. Don't when you're taking no man's land and being aggressive, either just take a different route where you're not walking through the open or through the choke, or make sure you're using cover the whole way through. Overall, that probably went to like a probably a lower end of a medium high, but there's a lot of things that kind of went into that category. Maybe I would say higher end of medium, somewhere in between that. Then finally, you have awareness slash aggression, right? Paying attention to your health bar, your shield health, and paying attention to what's going on with their teammates, what's their danger levels at, right? There are sometimes, you know, like, for example, we'd be like sitting here as Reinhardt and sitting there holding up a shield and out in the open, and like there's no teammates behind you. Also, in case you didn't know, you can look behind you with your shield. Hold left click when you're shielding. So just look at where your teammates are at, their danger levels. Pay attention to the enemy team, where they at. Watch just the flow of the fight. Team comp dictates play style. Watch for the Junkrat traps, right? And then off of those things, adjust your aggression, right? Up with advantages and opportunities, down with disadvantages, lack of resources, and danger level. Overall, this category probably went to a medium priority for you to work on. So number one was it was a little bit yeah. Number one is different across Sigma and Reinhardt. Let's do Reinhardt, right? Number one was ability usage. Two was positioning. Three was your awareness slash aggression. And then that was about it on Reinhardt. Those are the really big, massive things to work on though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then
Mhm.
Sigma,
Barrier in place.
number one is positioning. Number two was probably awareness slash aggression. Number three was ability usage, and then number four was ult usage. And then yeah, we didn't. And then the other ones we touched very very briefly on, so not really a ton to review. Junkrat, do this thingy, right? And then Farah, we talked about the flight.
I will protect
And that's
the innocent.
about it. Any questions?
Can you go over really quickly the fuel management again?
Yep. So flight, rather you don't want to just hold it down. You were holding it down. That just looks like this. You're just gonna just fall, 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 and then you run out of all your fuel. Instead, you want to tap it. So you just go tap, 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 because this lets the fuel recharge in between every single tap, 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 and then we can fly again, and we can boost again, tap, tap. Always boost unless you're trying to drop low to the ground or something. If you're trying to maintain height, always boost immediately as soon as it comes off a cooldown, right? And then we just maintain, and then at the very apex, right, at the very height, right as you're about to lose height off of the boost here, that's when you start to fuel or tap the fuel again, right? So you let go of it when you boost, and then you start tapping it as you reach the top, or right as you're about to start falling. That's when you start tapping again.
Okay.
Okay. You can also jump very high if you shoot yourself. So look at that's a normal jump. Now watch as I do that. Well, at the exact same time, shooting and pressing shift at the exact same time, I go all the way up here now. Right. So do keep that for, it does do damage, so keep that for when you have healing. Concussion, look at the floor and press W and you'll go forwards. If you do not have a floor to boost off of, then boost off of something behind you by turning around. So if I'm up in the air and I need a wall, I can turn wall, and then that gives me extra speed.
All right.
Right,
I'll practice that for like about an hour.
Right, anything else?
A tactical error.
Nothing. Thank you so much. You
Mhm.
brought a lot of insight to other heroes, because I don't want to focus just on Monkey, because like I feel like I tried Echo, but like I just feel like it's not a good fit for me for right now. It happens. But
Yep.
thank you for working on flexibility with me.
Works with me. All right.